The polls just closing in Texas for the November election.
It is straight up 7 o'clock, and we're expecting the first round of early voting numbers within the next hour. Thank you so much for joining us on KHOU 11 Plus for our special election night coverage. I'm Mia Gradney.
And I'm Lynn Cannon. Behind us, you can see poll workers. They're starting to get busy at counting those ballots tonight. And perhaps the biggest race on the ballot in Harris County is that special election to represent the 18th Congressional District. We
are also following the race for the Houston City Council at-large seat and several statewide propositions, as well as several other key races. We have team coverage for you this evening, bringing you up-to-the-minute results.
We also have a panel of experts joining us tonight. We have Dr. Michael Adams, TSU political science professor there on the right. Vlad Davidic, Republican strategist. He's joined us many times. And Diana Isa with Mi Familia Vota. Welcome, all of you. We look forward to having a conversation with you later.
We are going to be visiting quite a bit over the course of the next couple of hours. But right now, let's get to Orko Manna, who is live at the Harris County Election Central as poll workers count those ballots for us. Orko, good evening.
Good evening, Mia and Len. Yeah, we just got an update a few minutes ago. As of a few minutes ago, voter turnout for today for in-person ballots cast was around 222,000 people across Harris County. If you combine that with the early voting ballots, we are around 427,000 votes for this odd year election. The officials say that's pretty good for an odd year election, but it's still only about 17% of all registered voters. That's about 2.5 million registered voters in Harris County. Mia, you mentioned the counting the ballots actually hasn't started just yet. All the ballots from the 600 vote centers across Harris County will be coming here to election headquarters. This is basically just a warehouse near Bush Airport. Again, all of the ballots from the in-person ballots cast today from the 600 vote centers will be coming here, and this area behind me is actually where election workers will count those ballots. We're told that those first batch of ballots should be arriving here somewhere between 8 and 8:30 tonight. Still, even though that's about an hour and a half away, we have seen a lot of activity here. We've been out here all day, all evening, but in the past couple of hours, we've seen more and more election workers show up. It's gotten a lot more busy here with folks getting ready to count those ballots. We know in the past that there have been some issues when it comes to bringing all of those ballots to election headquarters, because again, this centralized location is where all the ballot counting happens. And you can imagine, with Harris County being the largest county in Texas and the third largest county in the country, that it takes a lot of effort to get all those ballots here. But sometimes things do get delayed either at the vote centers or through transportation. But the Harris County Elections Office tells me that they do have elections staff working to make sure that they get all the ballots here on time and as quickly as possible. They also have constables' offices working to securely transfer all of those ballots from the different precincts all the way here to election headquarters to make sure that those ballots get counted. Again, we're expecting the first batch of ballots to arrive here at election headquarters between 8 and 8:30 tonight. We're also expecting to get an update on voter turnout and on how everything went today from the Harris County Clerk, Tanisha Hudspeth. We're expecting that update in about half an hour at about 7:30. But we have heard from officials throughout the day that it has been pretty much smooth sailing. There were a couple issues kind of earlier in the morning, but nothing major. They do have a call center here at election headquarters that voters and election workers could call into if any issues arise. We didn't see any flurry of activity. We definitely saw some people answering phone calls, but there hasn't been any major issues. Again, polls just closed at 7 o'clock. We know that if voters were in line by 7 o'clock, that they are allowed to vote as long as they were in line by 7. But again, here we're seeing a flurry of activity, kind of getting ready, getting the energy up, getting ready to count those ballots once they arrive here. And we will be out here for all of that action once that begins again in about an hour to an hour and a half. For now, reporting live from election headquarters in Harris County, Orko Manna, KHOU 11 News.
All right, Orko, thank you for the update. I know people who work at some of the election locations, Mia, during past elections, they go through extensive training beforehand so that they get it right. They're pretty diligent, they're well trained, so hopefully everything will go smoothly tonight. The District 18 race will determine who will fill the seat in Congress. It has been vacant since Congressman Sylvester Turner's passing back in March. The 18th covers many historically black neighborhoods in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th wards. Turner held the seat for only about 8 weeks.
Also Acres homes as well within those neighborhoods that are included. And with 16 candidates, it is a stacked list of folks hoping to win the spot. But according to election surveys, Christian Menifee, Amanda Edwards, and Jolanda Jones may round out the top 3 with chances of a runoff. Stephen Goen, he is live from the Acres Homes Multi-Service Center with the latest on the race there. What's it looking like even with polls now officially closed, Stephen?
Hey there, Mia. We've been here for hours monitoring this polling location. We just saw a few people leave after voting, so the doors were closed, but people were still in line. We want to talk about the 18th congressional district race. A lot there, big implications, as you mentioned. This district covers so many different neighborhoods in Houston, downtown, east downtown, parts of 3rd, 4th, and the 5th ward, Cashmere Gardens, Acres homes. So whoever ends up winning and fills this seat, they will have a very big and diverse constituency they're going to have to represent. We also have to talk about the history of this seat. It's been held by notable names like Barbara Jordan, Mickey Leland, Sheila Jackson Lee, and of course, Sylvester Turner. It was his passing in March that vacated this seat. So now we have 16 people who want this job, 16 people on the ballot today. And we saw kind of a mix of Democrats, Republicans, independents, also one Green Party candidate. So a lot of people who are wanting to lead the 18th. But as you mentioned, there is a University of Houston Hobby School poll that shows us there are 3 front runners. We have Christian Menifee, Amanda Edwards, and Jolanda Jones. So those are going to be the names to watch out for. Of course, whoever wins might have to do a runoff. Political experts we've talked to said it's going to be very difficult for any one candidate to get 50% plus 1. That's what would be needed to avoid a runoff. If a runoff does happen, that would be in January, and then whoever wins that, they would go to Congress, but then there would be another election, the midterms, next fall in 2026. So District 18 is a congressional district that we have been watching change hands so many times over the years, and now it's going to continue to do that. It's going to be one to watch. We also need to mention that District 18 here in the Houston area is one of many that Republicans decided to redraw across the state. Federal judges now have to weigh in to see if those new maps will be upheld. But if they are, that could even further complicate future races for this district. So this is one to absolutely watch out for in the future. But of course, tonight we're going to see who people in Houston want to fill this seat. So for now, we'll send it back to you.
Moving parts in District 18, of course. Here to kind of talk about it is our panel, Dr. Michael Adams of TSU, Vladimir Davidiak, Republican strategist, and Diana Iza, Mi Familia Vota, talk about remapping, redrawing. There's a lot ahead for folks to take in here.
So much to unpack. Let's start with this election, because there is the past, there's the here and now, and then there's the future with District 18. But let's talk the here and now tonight. What voters are going to the polls for, what they went and voted for today, and that is for the special election. Remind us who they're casting a ballot for. This is a short term.
Yes. This is very important because it's unprecedented in the 18th Congressional District. The voters have been without a representative for almost 8 months. And we had something that's really unusual, and I think the voters are suffering from some fatigue, if you will. We saw the passing away of 2 congresspersons within a 15-month period. And so what we see tonight is a group of young candidates who have political experience. But all that could change after this election because, again, we're waiting on the results in terms of El Paso with the federal district courts, and the maps can change for the March primaries.
I want to follow up real quickly because they've been without representation. Would that be motivation to get them to vote today in this election as well? Do you think they're motivated more so than usual?
Well, it should. However, I think with all of the moving pieces with redistricting, I think that could lead to a lot of confusion. It creates a puzzle. And in many quarters, people could say that waiting so long, that could be an act of voter suppression, if you will.
Diane, I want to ask you a question. For the folks that you deal with, help try and get out to the polls, et cetera, Is there a sense of confusion going forward about what's going on in this district?
Absolutely. I think first and foremost, one of the things I do tell a lot of the voters that we speak to is that depending on where you live, the candidates are going to be different. You may not even be voting on Congressional District 18th, right? So it's important. A lot of voters think like, oh, there's a lot of noise, a lot of ads, a lot of movement around this district. But depending on where you live, you may or may not be voting on this race. So it's very important for people, for Houstonians to know that this only concerns people in that district. And so we want to avoid confusion there, because the last thing we want is for voters to go to their voting booth and see, oh, I don't see any candidate for Congressional District 18. So making sure that we also make that very clear that it is only for that district as well. And I think breaking it down of why it's so important for us to have congressional representation, and that's one of the things that we are telling folks through text banks, through phone banks, and through knocks on the door, is the importance of having someone represent you in DC.
And this has been a Democratic stronghold for decades now, but we do see some Republicans on the ballot in this special election for District 18. Talk about their involvement. Is that looking forward to the future and what's down the line with the possible redrawing of the lines for that district?
Yeah, the redistricting has really served a great purpose in terms of awakening the possibility of turning CD18 into a Republican district. For so long, for many decades, it was completely dominated by Democrat candidates. But the redistricting process made it possible to envision a possibility of having a Republican there. So you have a candidate like Carmen Maria Montiel, who ran a strong race trying to take that seat. But the redistricting process opens up the possibility of those communities being able to select different leadership.
Yeah, we'll see how this is going to play out, especially going forward after all of the legal ramifications and back and forth. Panelists, thank you. We'll get back to you a little bit later. Right now, let's go to Amanda Henderson. She's at one of the polling locations right now. It's the Metropolitan Service Center, a busy one on West Gray, where the lines have wrapped around the building tonight. Amanda?
Yeah, this is something that a lot of people have never seen before. In fact, we were just talking with New Erie right here. You guys got in line about 5 minutes before 7. Yeah. Describe this line for me.
Yeah, it's crazy. When you come up and then the line is all the way to this end corner, then it's all the way to the end down here by the baseball field. It's usually never like this.
You said in the past it's only been, you go in, you come out, it's 5 minutes. This is a little more than 5 minutes, though, I assume.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think it's going to be even the 10, 15 minutes it say on the app or website, whatever. But
is it encouraging to see so many people voting?
Yeah, this is definitely a lot more than it was in the past, so hopefully it does something.
All right, well, thank you guys so much, and hopefully this line goes a little quicker. Hannah, I want to see if you can turn and just show how long this line is. Guys, this is behind the West Gray Center, which historically is a pretty popular place to vote. In fact, I voted out here last year myself, but again, the line didn't look quite anything like this. It is still pretty long. You saw the shots earlier, and they were completely wrapped around this tennis court right here. Now they've gotten a little bit smaller, but things are still very busy out here. Final voters are in line. Marcelino, we're going to toss it over to you.
Amanda, thanks so much. I'm joined now by KHOU political analyst Brandon Rottinghouse. We're here to talk about the 17 constitutional amendments on the ballot here in Texas. A lot to talk about, and we're actually getting numbers and results in. We want to focus in on the big ones that really will impact you guys at home. So let's start with Prop 13. Walk us through what this one does for the average homeowner.
In effect, what it does is to give people a tax break, and not surprisingly, people seem to like that. It increases the homestead exemption to $140,000. So most people are going to see between $400 and $500 in terms of taxation relief, and this is a hallmark and really the kind of bumper sticker slogan for the GOP for the last decade.
With only 10% of the vote in, it's early, but this type of lead isn't going to go anywhere. This likely to pass overwhelmingly. You're seeing now 83% of the vote to 17% against. It's very unusual to vote against a tax break, paying lower property taxes, right? And I think when I spoke to Paul Betancourt, the state senator behind this proposition, a $484 approximate saving for the average Texas homeowner, a big deal.
It's a big deal, and the GOP has been trying to find ways to reduce the tax burden on people. It's hard because of the way the system works in Texas, so this will definitely be kind of a welcome for a lot of people, but there's a catch. The catch is that the state has to pay the school districts to make that money whole, so it's on the hook for about maybe $3 to $4 billion in terms of general revenue fund that's going to have to go into the school district. So somebody's going to have to pay for all this, but homeowners are going to get a little bit of a break if this passes.
Hand in hand with this one is Prop 11. Let's talk about that one. We have results coming in for Prop 11. Talk about what Prop 11 does. Also, property tax relief.
Yeah, very similar to that. It doesn't have a specific homestead number, but if you qualify in this case, if you're somebody who's elderly and disabled, then you get a break on your homestead exemption, which is really the primary way that people are taxed in Texas. This is a big concern for the GOP. They've talked a lot about how the tax burden is too high in Texas, so this is one way that they can reduce that.
And so this one, 81% to 19%, also expected to pass. Seniors could be getting up to a $200,000 combined reduction in their property taxes. That's about a $900 reduction over time as they pay throughout the year. A big deal for Texas seniors and Texas homeowners. Len and Mia, will send it back to you.
All right, we'll pick it up from here. Thank you so much, Brandon and Marcelino. Hey, we are off and running. These are very early votes thus far, but we'll be waiting for more returns. We're only just getting started.
Yes, we are. We send it now to our live results board, where every result will be updated in real time. I'm Len Cannon here with Mia Gradney. We'll be right back.